Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome, as always, to our coffee times to talk horror books.
It's coffee time!
Today, it is the last video in this apartment. It's nostalgic. I am really terrified about moving, but I am also really excited about the new chapter in my life, the new adventure, and the new place. And as you can see, this is the only things that I have left on my background. And right after I finish filming this video, all of this is coming down because it is today exactly 1 week before the move, so I really have to get everything wrapped up in this apartment and ready to go for that day. However, I decided, the last video in this apartment has to be one of everyone's favorites in the booktube community, and that is a book haul, because I did accumulate 26 books since the last book haul, and I decided to leave it as the last video, and as soon as I film this, put them all in the box and get ready to move those new babies as well. So I have a total of 26 and I have kind of divided this into categories, so let's get into it. First, I have non-fiction books, and I don't have many of those. I don't pick so many of those. I think I should pick more, but I was at a science fiction convention here in Germany not long ago, and they had some secondhand books and I decided to pick two of them. So the first one is I Am Spock by Leonard Nimoy, and this is the hardcover edition of the book. Now, Leonard Nimoy played Spock in the original Star Trek series. He wrote a book called I Am Not Spock because he wanted to distance himself with the character, but of course the fans were a little bit upset by it. Anyways, he decided to write after that one a second autobiography called I Am Spock, and it gives you kind of a more of an in-depth peek behind the scenes of the show and things that he experienced on set and stuff like that. So I've always loved Spock, I always loved Star Trek, so I decided to pick this one up. And then I grabbed The Truth Is Out There. This is the official guide to the X-Files. I believe this is season 1 and 2 of the original series, and it has some in-depth information about every episode, also some behind the scenes stuff. And we've been meaning to rewatch the whole show from the beginning because I do own all the seasons up to season 9, so we don't own the new ones, but we will get them. So I've always wanted to revisit the show. I hope I still love it because I used to watch it when I was young, when the show was on television. But yeah, so I decided it would be cool to kind of read after every chapter a little bit more of in-depth behind the scenes of what happened in every chapter. I know this is sounding like I'm a total nerd, so it is what it is. Our next category is non-horror books. So the first one that I have here is the third book in A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. Martin. I already got book 1 and 2 in this beautiful limited, I think illustrated edition it's called. And yeah, so I got book 3, which is A Storm of Swords, and the illustrations are amazing. I've already showed you guys from the other editions. I think they haven't done book 4 yet, but I'm definitely gonna get it as soon as it comes out because I wanted a definite edition of these books for my collection because I've always loved A Song of Ice and Fire. And these are how the illustrations look like on the inside. They're pretty cool, and I wanted like a definite edition that I could cherish and I could read comfortably because I had those teeny tiny paperbacks that had like Bible themed pages, and I wanted something nice and big in hardcover. Next we have Heartstopper Volume 4 by Elise Osman. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that this is one of my comfort reads. There's something about the story of Charlie and Nick, who are two guys that are gay, and one of them is really scared to come out. It's just so touching, heartwarming. It's sad when it has to be, but it's also happy when it has to be, and it's always been a super comfort read for me. I have reread the other volumes multiple times and I still have not had the chance to get to volume 4. I finally picked it up. I believe it came out in March this year, so I finally have it and I hope to get to it soon because, like I said, it's just such a comfort read for me. The next one is a book you would not expect me to pick up, and that is this one here, The Nobleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwrecks by Mackenzie Lee. So I read the first book on this series called The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, I believe, and I also picked up the second book, which I still have not read, and this is the third book. And why am I picking it up is because I remember when I read the first book, I had just so much fun with it. It was such a light, fun read. These are LGBTQIA kind of historical fiction books, and they remind me to those, you know, like historical fiction movies that are quirky and cheesy and fun. And yeah, I just wanted to get more options like this in case I need just something fun to read a little bit away from the horror. The next two books are really close to the horror genre in one way or another. The first one is The Rat List by Matt Haig. I've been meaning to pick this exact edition for a long time, and I've finally found this exact edition new because it matches my other book that I have by Matt Haig, The Humans. And I really want to read this book because it is about abstinent vampires, like a family of abstinent vampires. And if it has the same kind of humor that The Humans had, I'm probably really going to love this book, since I also love vampires. So I'm really excited for this one. Then we have You Love Me by Caroline Kepnes. This is book 3 on the You series. It's a thriller, kind of a little bit of a horror. And I've been meaning to pick this one up, of course, since it came out. As you guys know, I really enjoy this series. I really liked You, really enjoyed Hidden Bodies as the second one, and I just want to know where Joe's story is taking him now. I believe he finds a new job at a library or a bookstore, and then of course he sees again a girl that he automatically falls in love with, and this time I think he decides to do things the traditional way and get to know her and kind of, like, you know, make her fall in love with him the traditional way. But we all know Joe. Things are probably gonna go south. If you are unaware with the series, it is about this character called Joe that basically has this obsession with women, that sometimes when he sees a woman he absolutely falls in love with her and it becomes an obsession, and he's kind of like a sociopath as well. So yeah, if you're interested, I really recommend you to pick up the series if you ever wanted to pick it up, because I've always had a lot of fun with him as a character. Now let's talk about a couple of middle grade horror that I have picked up. The first one, I've already talked to you a couple of times about it, so I'm gonna make it brief, but that is The Bewitching of Evelyn Jones by Phil Hikes, and this is the second book on the series. We follow Evelyn in her next adventure as she finds these ancient witch ruins, like witch stones, and she discovers the story of this town and the witches that were supposed to be living there. This one was a little bit more intense in the horror than the first one, and if you're looking for a cozy atmospheric read for winter, this series is perfect if you're looking for a middle grade. The next book I've heard really good things about, and I decided to pick it up because it is the first book on the Fright Watch series. The first book is called The Stitchers by Lorian Lawrence. And I'm really excited about this one because it is about a 13-year-old girl called Queen that in her neighborhood she realizes that there are some neighbors that seem to have been living there forever, and she calls them the oldies, and they don't know how old they are. Are they vampires? Are they some sort of supernatural creature that cannot age? What's the deal with them? So this sounds, you know, really interesting to me, and I've heard really good things. And the second book on the series is also already out. And then we have 13s by Kate Alice Marshall, and this is also following a girl called Eleanor that moves to a new place, and also her birthday falls on Halloween night, and then a series of events that are really weird start to happen. So she finds her grandfather's clock that starts to count down from 13 hours. Then she sees on the distance a dog with bright eyes, and a mysterious fairy tale book appears at her door. Let's move to some YA horror slash thriller books. The first one is also another one that I've talked to you guys a couple of times already, so let's make it short, and that is There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. And it follows McCanny, as you know, starting a new life, moves to live with her grandmother, starts at a new school, and everything changes when her schoolmates start to be murdered one by one. So who's the killer? I really enjoyed the book. It does a really good job with the character development. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it did a good job when it comes to the slasher part and the killer part. So I do recommend both if you wanted to pick them up. Next we have Wicked Little Deeds by Kat Ellis. I really enjoyed the Harrow Lake book that she wrote, and I decided to pick this next one. I've heard it's even better, and it follows the story of Ava, and she witnessed a murder, and since then she has been plagued with nightmares. Not only that, but somebody close to her now has been murdered, and she somehow became the prime suspect in the case. So this sounds really intriguing to me. I believe the title in the US is a different title. The US title is Burden Falls. And yeah, like I said, I'm really intrigued because I really enjoyed her other book, so I am excited to pick this one up. Moving on to All These Bodies by Kendara Blake, and this takes place in 1958 as several corpses appear. People have been killed in their houses, in the car, on the street, and they've all been drained of all blood. And then there is a massacre in a house. A family has been brutally murdered, and the only survivor is a 15-year-old girl covered of blood from head to toe, and it's not hers. So she kind of becomes the prime suspect, or at least the prime witness of the scene. And I'm just really excited about this book because if it's kind of like a period piece and it has vampires in it, I'm already intrigued. Moving on to adult horror, and I have here first two books that were sent to me. The first one is a novella, and it's called The Last Testament of Crichton Smythe by Gavin Gardner, and I've already talked about this one before. I've also have it on my reading vlog. I think it was for Halloween, and I really enjoyed this one. It follows a weird man that is able to see when he looks in someone's eyes how they're gonna die and how many years they have left, but he's unable to see his own death. This is a really intense psychological story, psychological horror, and if you're looking for a cozy novella, I definitely recommend you to pick it up. And then my friends from Spain wanted to send me something to cheer me up before the mood because I've been really stressed, and they sent me Only the Saints Remain by Ross Jeffrey. And this one, I don't know much about it, but I know that a lot of people really love it, and it deals with child abuse if I'm not mistaken, so a trigger warning for that. I believe it follows two kids that were abused by family members when they were younger, and when they are old they kind of seek revenge, something like that, I believe. But I'm really excited about this one because, like I said, the reviews have been amazing, and he's also a great member of the horror community. I follow him on Twitter, and I always enjoyed his writing, so I'm really excited about this. Now moving on to the adult horror that I bought for myself. So the first one is a book that I also read for Halloween, so I'm also gonna make this one short. We have Dead Leaves by Kilpatrick Burke. This is a compilation of 9 short horror stories. They are around Halloween season. For me, they didn't feel so much Halloween as Autumn Crow or other books, but still they were really good horror short stories. Horsemen by Christina Henry, which was one of my anticipated releases for this year because I love how Christina Henry makes like your typical fairy tales completely horrifying and disturbing. So this is based, of course, on the legend of Sleepy Hollow and the Headless Horseman, and the people from Sleepy Hollow don't believe on the Headless Horseman. They believe it's just a bunch of bogus, and that changes when the body of a child appears murdered and that's when they start to fear that maybe the legend is actually true. The Stepchildren by Stephanie Sparks. So after I read Kill the Babysitter, and I really enjoyed it because it was unexpected for me, I decided I wanted to read more by the author, so I picked this one up. All I know is that it's about this guy that apparently marries into families, kills wives, torments the stepchildren, something happens, and it's like a pattern that he has been following, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just, you know, really excited to just dive into it without knowing too much and see what's there for me. Because I feel like if it's similar to Kill the Babysitter, I'm probably gonna be surprised by some twists and turns or some decisions that the author makes. So I'm really intrigued about this one. The next book, actually, I just picked it up because that cover and those 80s vibes, I just had to. And that is this beautiful book, Wolf Moon by David Irons. And it looks like a VHS kind of rental thing from the 80s. And it does include a lot of 80s references and has a lot of 80s vibes, I've heard. And I need to read this book. It's also sci-fi horror, which is something that I don't read enough at all, and I love. So apparently some people kind of react to a distress call and they go to try to help whoever actioned this distress call, and when they get there they find only like a pod that had survived with just one survivor inside, but that survivor is keeping an awful secret. There is apparently a beast involved for what I can see, and I'm just really excited because it sounds like cheesy 80s fun, and yeah, sci-fi horror. What more can I want? Then I picked a couple of Richard Layman books for my collection. The first one is The Beast House, which is the second book on the series after I read The Cellar. Really loved it. It's completely disturbing and all the trigger warnings for that book, but I really enjoyed it, so I want to move on with the series. So I picked up the second book, and apparently we follow different characters that end up going to visit the Beast House, and apparently this one has more information about the supposed beast that haunts the place. And then I finally picked a book by Richard Layman that I've been dying to read, and that is In the Dark, because this book sounds like 100% plus my thing. This is about Jane. She's a librarian, and one day she finds a clue together with a little bit of money, and she discovers what the second clue is, which gives her more money, and she keeps going basically from book to book, finding clues that are by some master of games. And the game starts to get more and more dangerous. It requires for her to do things that are no longer in her comfort zone. Some things can be criminal, awful things. And the fact that this combines horror with games, this probably is kind of a escape room from back in the day. It just sounds too good to me, because solving puzzles and having this master of games telling you what to do is kind of like Saw before Saw. So I'm really excited for it. And to finish the book haul, I have a couple of older vintage horror books that I wanted to add to the collection. The first one is Bury Me Deep by Christopher Pike. And this one is about a girl that is supposed to be having the time of her life. She's going on a plane to have some holidays in Hawaii, and suddenly one of the passengers sitting next to her dies during the flight. And since then she has been having recurring nightmares of this passenger that died that is coming back to hunt her. Then I have a couple of point horror books. The first one is called The Window. So we have this woman called Jodie that is going to a ski vacation, and she's really happy about it, but she injures herself. So she basically cannot do anything and has to stay at her cabin. And that is where she witnessed something going on at the neighbor's place. And this is, I guess, your typical story of, did the neighbor kill the wife or the husband? Did something happen? So it's kind of like that kind of vibe. I have not read it, but you know, point horror is something that is always a guilty pleasure read of mine. Then we have The Body. So Lisa has an accident. She falls off a cliff and she ends up paralyzed and mute. So nobody really knows what happened to her and if it was indeed an accident. Then Melanie is hired to kind of take care of Lisa, and apparently Melanie starts to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So probably we're gonna find out what actually happened to Lisa. I mean, these are cheesy, quick reads, so don't expect like huge plots, but they're just so much fun. And the last one is Beach House, and I'm really excited for this one, to read it this summer, in like 6 months. But this one is about a killer that is on the loose at the beach where the kids are supposed to be safe. So the kids are being killed one by one by this killer that never leaves a trace behind. And the last one is actually a point horror unleashed, and this is called In Spirit by Nick Turnbull. And all I know is that it's based on some sort of legend of a woman, half beast half woman, kind of like a wolf woman, and that she looks for victims and she wants to get their throats. That is all I know. I have not read any Point Unleashed books yet, but I'm really excited to read those two. These are harder to come by than the normal point horror books, so I'm really happy that I was able to get a copy of this one. Alright you guys, so these were the 26 books that I have added to the collection. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you found maybe something here that I've mentioned that you would like to pick up for yourselves. This is going to be the last video in this place, like I have mentioned, and I don't know when I'm gonna be able to film next, because the next couple of weeks are gonna be moving, buying new furniture, building new furniture, arranging everything in the new place. So I am going to try to vlog my move, the day that we move, and how I arrange the books in the new place, the shelves that I buy. I'm gonna try to vlog that a little bit, but unfortunately I don't know when I will be able to put up a new video. Depends how fast I guess we get things organized in the new place, but I will try my best to update you guys at least on Instagram and Twitter more the next couple of weeks. So at least if you don't get videos on my channel, you get some updates on my other social medias, so make sure to go follow me there if you are not following me yet. Yeah, but I'm really excited about the new chapter in my life. I'm really excited to reorganize the horror books, the horror collection, put them into separate sections like middle grades, my YAs, and I'm really excited about all of that, because I couldn't organize them like that in this apartment. So it's all for the better, and I'm really excited about the new place. It's just gonna be a lot of work, and as you guys know, I cannot get too much stress because I'm already kind of having health issues due to all the stress, and I need to try to take things easy. So thank you so much you guys for all your support. I know I wanted to make a video as well for my 2K subscribers, and we're already past that and I still haven't made a video, but I promise I'll still make like some sort of Q&A or something fun to celebrate with you guys. And thank you so much for the support. I hope we're gonna have a great next year filled with new horror content here when everything is set. And yeah, thank you so much for this year. It's been amazing being in the platform, getting to know you all guys, having all your support. And if I don't upload anything else this year, I'll see you all next year for our next coffee time. Bye.